Good morning everyone. Myself TIASHA MITRA, a teacher trainee of Siliguri Tarai B.Ed College. Today I am going to teach you history of 9th standard and my topic is the French Revolution. But before going into details, I will give you a basic introduction about the French Revolution. The French Revolution led to the end of monarchy in France. A society based on privileges gave way to a new system of governance. The Declaration of the Rights of Man during the Revolution announced the coming of a new time. The idea that all individuals had rights and could claim equality became part of a new language of politics. So what it says here is, the revolution, the main highlight of the revolution was the end of the monarchy and thereafter bringing in new reforms like freedom, equality and rights for all the citizens of the country. Now we will go into a bit more details. On the morning of 14 July 1789, the city of Paris was in a state of alarm. The king had commanded troops to move into the city. Rumors spread that he would soon order the army to open fire on the citizens. Some 7,000 men and women gathered in front of the town hall and decided to form a people's militia. They broke into a number of government buildings in search of arms. On the morning of 14 July 1789, before that I'll tell you, the French Revolution, it lasted for 10 years. It was started on 1789 and ended on 1799. On the morning of 14 July 1789, there was a rumor spread that the king had ordered its military troops to open a ceasefire on the citizens of the country. Therefore, as a result, some 7,000 men and women, they gathered around the town hall and formed their own military troops, and they broke into a number of government buildings in search of arms and weapons. Now, finally, several hundred people marched towards the eastern part of the city and stormed the fortress prison, the Bastille, where they hoped to find hoarded ammunition. In the armed fight that followed, the commander of the Bastille was killed and the prisoners released, though there were only 7 of them. Yet the Bastille was hated by all because it stood for the despotic power of the king. The fortress was demolished and its stone fragments were sold in the markets to all those who wished to keep a souvenir of the destruction. Finally, around 100 people, they marched towards the eastern part of the country, where there was a fortress prison called Bastille, in search of arms and weapons. So over there, they started fighting with the military troops, and the commander-in-chief was killed, and the prisoners were released, though there were only 7 of them. But still the Bastille was hated by all because it was the despotic power of the king. The fortress was demolished, the fortress was finished, and its stone fragments or the debris that were sold into the market to all those people who wanted to keep a souvenir of its destruction. So the days that followed saw more rioting both in Paris and the countryside. So after that day, there were many riots in Paris and the countryside. Most people were protesting against the high price of the bread, because bread was their staple food, so they started protesting against the high price of it. Much later, when historians look back on this time, They saw it as the beginning of the chain of events that ultimately led to the execution of the King of France. After many years, when the historians they look back, they saw that these events were basically the execution of the King of France, and many people, those people at that time did not anticipate this outcome, and there were many people who could not anticipate with this outcome. Thank you so much, class.